How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on BGWProductions.com with your favorite show hosts, Ara Still.
Fenurian.
And Volacel, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week. If I can stop getting attacked by 3 monsters at once on Monster Hunter. But first of all, if you would like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us emails at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the tweeters at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord chat by going to the vtwproductions.com website and clicking on our show logo on any of our recent show posts. You can easily access our Discord server there, where you can converse with us at any point if for some reason you'd actually like to do something like that.
Who'd want to do that?
Find out the sort of banal and meaningless posts that we tend to make through the week. And talk to Serathis about Doom mods, since that's all he ever talks about. Well, that and animal-eared girls, which appears to be the other thing he talks about.
It's okay if Serathis likes to wear flowers on his head everywhere he goes. Make headbands for that.
And as you can hear, I still have bronchitis, and it hasn't gone away yet, and I'm tormented.
It's particularly persistent this time around.
I've had it worse in the past, so this is actually, it could be worse. It could be worse.
All right. So this week on the stream, I'm playing a little bit of Valhalla Hills. It's a silly little game in the vein of the old Settlers games. You go through, all you need to do is get up to the top of the hill here, open the portal, kill the monsters, and send your villagers through it. But every time you do that, you unlock new things, the world expands, you get new tech options. So, yeah. It's do the same thing over again, it just gets harder every time.
So there's lemons.
Close to, like I said, closer to Settlers. So, yeah. We should jump straight into the weeks, because that's really all we got this week. It's been a very, very slow news week.
Well, I mean, most people are on holiday, so...
Yeah.
And it is the week before April Fool's, so everybody's trying to set up their lolsy front page posts to get their clicked.
April
You mean
lies.
the waste of dev time?
Yeah.
I don't... Inevitably tomorrow, there will be nothing interesting. There'll be one or two that are kind of funny, and the rest are all just going to waste your time.
Oh dear. I don't mind the ones that are funny, but some of them are terrible.
I don't remember the last time I saw one I actually thought was funny.
Yeah. There's been the occasional one which has actually turned out to be a rather good idea and been implemented in a game, though.
Pandas is not one of those.
Pandas is definitely not one of those. That was a mistake. Oh dear, oh dear. We've already started to see the first few of them, because it is April Fool's Day already on this side of the world, so Discord's thrown up their oh-so-lulsy patch notes.
Well, have they? I haven't even noticed.
Yeah. Things like, if you put in a certain command, Discord is supposed to shriek in terror. Actually, I probably should try that, see if it actually does. What is it? It's OWO, I think it was. Nope, doesn't shriek. I am disappointed.
Fern.
Fern, you clicked on the wrong channel, bro.
Whoops.
Yeah,
So,
I wasn't sure if you went up there on purpose or not, so I just stroked you back.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I must have clicked on something I didn't mean to. Never mind. To the listener, nothing happened. So yeah, I am disappointed. Discord does not shriek in terror when you enter a pointless command.
I see.
Oh
Yeah.
dear, oh dear.
I got an email from Pokemon Go about their silly shtick. And of all companies, Niantic cannot afford to waste dev time like that. I'm sorry.
I suppose I can talk a little bit about Pokemon Go, since I started poking at it last night. They've added a quest mode into the game, which is very interesting. You start the day, you go and spin your first Pokestop, and you'll get an objective, which might mean go out and find a certain Pokemon or catch it, or spin certain number or certain Pokestops or things like that, capture a gym, so on like that. And you'll get a new objective every day. So that's kind of neat. There's also special objectives which Professor totally not showing his age will give you, which I have not encountered yet. Big question. Why wasn't this in at launch? Because this would have been excellent at launch, or shortly after, once the network issues were sorted out. This is the sort of thing that really would have breathed longevity into it.
There is a great many questionable design decisions when you're talking about that game.
Yeah.
There's really it's a situation where there's almost too much to discuss, in the sense of it is a case of one of two things. Either one, dramatic time mismanagement. They have no idea what they're doing, and they created their own disaster.
Yes.
Or two, they were absolutely convinced that they had infinity time because they could just lean on the brand forever.
Yep, they were wrong on both counts.
But it's not neither of them are uncommon, so it could be either of those.
No, that's definitely right. Is your gang of van wielding enthusiasts still going around, Vaul?
I'm not sure, because my friend who usually gives me updates on that crew is currently over in the Bay Area trying to see if there's anybody there running nanotech fabrication to give him work. But yeah, so I don't know, but he should be back soon.
Ooh, a Teddy Ursa.
Get the update on that.
I'm a catch a bear.
Thank the heavens I got an Uragan, whatchamacallit, at last. Uragan Ruby.
So what else have they added here? Oh, nice. What else they added here? They've added in the tracker now uses the old 8-bit graphics, just as a nice little thing.
And everything else does as well, because it's April Fool's.
Yeah, in the capture so far it's not, at least. This is probably incredibly loud. But there is a bear in my bedroom, and I should probably catch it. There we go. I now has a bear.
I can't bring myself to go back to that game.
Oh, I did not catch a bear. Never mind. Yeah, it's
lost all my data through their own fault, and I can't bring myself to go back.
No. So yeah, it's something I'll pick up and just fiddle with if I'm stuck downtown doing nothing. But yeah,
I have FGO. I don't need anything else.
Yeah, not super enthused. All right. What else did we play this week? We played a whole bunch of Monster Hunter, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. I guess I took a bullet for the team, and I got the Neverwinter Nights remaster. Because quote unquote, I love Neverwinter Nights. Neverwinter Nights is fantastic. The first one. The second one,
hundreds of hours on it.
Yeah. So let's just get the obvious out of the way. This isn't a remaster. This is a port.
Why do they keep doing that? Why do they keep saying, "Oh, it's a remaster"? Remaster does not mean, "Oh, you allow the resolution to be forced to 1920 by 1080." Like that's not what that word means.
No. Remaster is go back, fix what was broken, improve things here and there, and give it generally a good coat of paint. They've fixed a few bugs. They've made it work on modern resolutions, but you do need to fiddle with it a bit before it looks properly. And even then, I'm still not happy with the UI scaling, because you've got a choice between teeny-weeny, large, or idiotically huge. And there's no middle ground between them. No scaling.
Fabulous.
Which is really, really obnoxious.
I do not remember that much about the first game, although I remember playing Mask of the Betrayer in the sequel a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a good game.
I think the sequel was better. Well, it was better technologically, and it used a more recent D&D rule set. But the story of the base expansion, or the base game, just kind of fell flat, as did a lot of the characters, I found.
Yeah. I can see that.
So yeah. I can't criticize the game itself. The game is fine. It's the same as it ever was. There's a bit of new content, and like I said, there's been bugs that have been fixed. And it's the same story. Here's the spell plague. You go and capture the creatures and cure it, and then we're going to send you off to talk to orcs or something.
By spell plague, you mean
it's not the spell plague. It's just a conventional disease.
Yes, the Wailing Death. I don't know, there's been that many plagues and things that have hit Neverwinter over the years. It's hard to keep track of them all.
The spell plague is nicknamed the worst narrative decision in D&D history for a reason.
Yeah.
That is a different thing.
That is a different thing, and it is a bad thing.
Worse than their entire cosmology overhaul. Where they removed all of the planes and stuff.
Oh, why?
The one before or after the Great Upheaval? Or the one, I think there was one during. No, there wasn't. It was before or after.
All of those, the names of those things are super generic, so I have no idea to what you're referring.
The one where all the gods got kicked out of the divine realm and had to stay in panther bodies.
That happened. 3.5 was still current when that happened.
Yeah.
I'm talking about after that when they just decided to hit the delete button on the entire cosmology.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I saw some things about that on the wiki, but it is too far after my time. Things post 3.5 are they're too new for me. I don't know much about them.
Yeah. So, oh dear. So yeah, this remaster, quote unquote, hats off to them. It is compatible with all modules made for the previous version of the game, the classic version, which is good because there's some incredible fan-made modules out there. Mm-hmm. But the game is not visually appealing, really. It has not aged all that well. You've got
it hadn't aged all that well 10 years ago.
No, it had not. So your characters...
It was never going to sell itself on that anyway. It sold itself on the power of its toolset.
Yes. And that toolset was brilliant, including the Dungeon Keeper mode, which never made a reappearance for Neverwinter Nights 2.
Well, it was incredibly complicated.
It was.
It's okay.
It was very hard to actually run that as a dungeon master in real time.
Yeah.
You had to be very, very good. You needed to have incredibly high level skills at physically playing the game in order to manipulate it quickly enough and lay down all of your triggers and whatnot.
Yeah, a lot of the time you had to kind of more or less build the module in advance, and at that point it was just sit back and keep an eye on things as the game ran itself.
Maybe it's that. Maybe there are people in the community who built really, really good dungeon masterable mods, but I never played any. So
no, I never got the chance.
Them, but I looked at them for a while when I was trying to set up online groups for tabletop D&D, but none of them looked super duper good, and they required you to have Neverwinter Nights 2 in 2015, which nobody did.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, that's the good thing about it, but yeah, they haven't really done much to improve the graphics. They haven't even touched a lot of the low resolution inventory sprites. Things like your potions and armors and things, the stuff that in the toolkit you can customize the appearance of and stock it around. They look fine. They've been kind of updated a bit. But static stuff, no. They're still the low resolution, ugly sprites. They also haven't fixed a lot of the default volume leveling. So when you talk to Arabeth the first time, you get her Goody Two-Shoes theme blasting out of your speakers and just drowning out her voice acting. Ugh.
That is one of the things that baffles me the most about a bunch of these remasters. The audio mixing in old games is horrible. Terrible, even.
Yeah.
Some of the worst you've ever heard, terrible. And that should be, number one on the priority list of things you need to fix, right now.
Yes.
But they never do.
They never do.
I can understand why you may not have the original files, but it's still, you can touch it up at least. And in some cases, it's even worse. Every time Sonic Adventure 2 gets re-released, I swear you hear the characters less and less. Not that you want to hear that terrible voice acting to begin with, but you can't hear it.
Nah. Oh dear, the voice acting in that game was just awful. Mind you, Neverwinter Nights, the voice acting isn't a whole lot better, but that's pretty much part of the course for a D&D game these days, is just bad voice acting.
Neverwinter Nights is sort of the example of the school of ADR where they hand the voice actor a list of lines and just have them read them out one after the other.
Yeah. They might have one professional voice actor to do a main character, and that's about it. But go back to Baldur's Gate, Sarevok sounded like somebody with a sore throat. That was his voice acting.
Yeah. Good old early 2000s voice acting.
Quality control was
big enough to store. The disc is big enough to store audio files, guys. We gotta record everything.
Baldur's Gate was on 5 CDs initially. I've still got them somewhere.
It's enough to hold them audio files, though.
Yeah.
So, gotta have that voice acting.
Although
I've still got all of my Neverwinter Nights discs.
Though, to be fair, they also gave us Minsk, who is brilliant.
Good old Minsk.
Minsk is brilliant. And Boo. Boo killed a dragon, by the way, canonically.
Boo has done a whole lot of OP stuff canonically.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what happens in a tabletop game if a character becomes beloved. They basically become a god.
Yeah. Cough,
Yeah,
cough, Drizzt.
It happens anytime a character stays around long enough in D&D. They're going to become this OP mofo that is just going to tear everybody to pieces.
Yeah. But, yeah, Minsk does everything by the power of ham, so he gets a pass on it. Unlike Drizzt, who does everything with the power of edge. And Mary Soonis.
Oh, Drizzt.
Nobody likes you, Drizzt. Go away.
Oh, Drizzt.
I don't know. Didn't like every middle schooler like him.
Yes, because everyone wants to be, a drow with dual-wield scimitars and a panther because edge.
He is that character in tabletop that everybody remembers reading in my groups when they were like 15, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we liked that."
You've got a lot to answer for, R.S. Salvatore.
Yeah, I've got somewhere the Chronicles of Drizzt trilogy. I've read the first book, and Keza, why does anyone like this character?
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Do not do that.
You are setting yourself up for a bad time.
Yeah. It's like reading your middle school diary if you're the sort of person who keeps a diary.
Yeah, you read it.
But it will be revealed to you the sort of person you were at the time.
Yeah.
You would be very positive the person you were when you grew up is dead.
And be glad for it.
And you'll be very happy they're dead anytime you look back that far.
I don't have to deal with that asshole anymore.
Past me was terrible. But just those Drizzt books. You read it, you put it down, and you think, I've made a terrible mistake. But yeah, if you haven't played Neverwinter Nights, the original, I can say you can go and play the remaster. If you've got the original, like say on GOG, don't bother with it. Just play with the GOG version because it's cheaper. You're not missing much aside from a few little bits of extra content.
That insignificant a jump in quality. I mean, it looked bad in that thing we saw, but
that trailer did make things look bad. And when it has a cutscene, by the way, remember that original Neverwinter Nights cutscene, the guy fighting the Minotaur? Back in the day, that looked great.
It looked bad back in the day.
Well, okay, yeah, it looked cheesy as anything back in the day, but cheese is great. Leave the cheese alone. Now, it looks the same, except in teeny-weeny vision. Even if you've adjusted the resolution.
They just gave it borders?
Not even that. They just play it in its native resolution on a modern screen.
Yeah.
Now they stretch it or give it borders. Tell me which it is.
Oh, they gave it the borders. They didn't stretch it, thankfully.
So they squinch up this tiny cutscene that doesn't look that hot to begin with. Remember, this cutscene came out the same year the World of Warcraft opening cinematic happened.
Yeah, but you can't really hold them up against Blizzard.
Yeah, but still, it is the cutscene comparison point for that particular year.
Yep.
And so you're playing it, and it just completely blacks out your screen except for like the middle third of it and plays it in teeny-weeny vision.
More like a middle quarter of it, yes. So enjoy squinting at that little box of a terribly animated Minotaur getting stabbed in the crotch.
Like, you can upscale stuff like that pretty easy. I mean, you need an art team to do it, but you can do it. It's not a hard thing.
Or you could take the no-effort approach, like Beamdog did, and just jam it in there and give it borders.
Just not do anything.
Just not do anything.
You can just not touch it up and upscale it too, I suppose.
If you really want to.
I mean, they didn't touch most of anything. Look at them new shadows that look almost exactly the same as the old ones.
They do. I couldn't pick the difference. They look the same to me. So yeah, Neverwinter Nights is great, but the remaster's just lazy. It's not a remaster, it's a port, and that's it. Alright, so that's really my week, I suppose. It's disappointment all across the board.
Sounds so sad, Fern.
I would love to be able to go back and play a proper remaster of the original Neverwinter Nights, like give it a proper coat of paint. Even higher resolution textures would have been welcome. They didn't even do that.
Yeah.
Just lazy.
That's the way. It's about a 70% chance with any remaster you get. That's how it's going to go.
Yeah, but there's been some really good remasters out there, like the Monkey Island ones. All right, somebody talk about something that's not going to disappoint me.
Well, currently I'm feeling very disappointed because I can't work out how to hurt Teostra, much less kill him.
Oh dear. Yeah, I did a dumb against Teostra kind of this morning before the show. I went and fought him because I want to build the Teostra set, or most of the Teostra set. And I was fighting him, wondering why he kept exploding and why I wasn't doing a whole lot of damage to him, and he was just keeping on coming.
You didn't have your Elder Seal weapon on, did you?
No, I had my fire sword.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like,
So Teostra just
doing it without.
Uh,
I'm presently trying to fight him without an Elder Steel weapon because I wanted to see what the difference is, and I don't really care if I die because during the show I'm not going to be able to kill him anyway because, you know. But yeah, he just kills me the same way every time, which is that he will stun me and then he will do his supernova and then that will be it.
yeah.
That's all she wrote.
He seems to operate more or less similarly to Nergigante in most respects. And
Yeah.
you basically need to let him let off his super ability because if you don't, you just won't be able to hurt him.
You do. He goes nuts when he's about to super. And if he manages to stun you during that time, you can guarantee he's going to go and do his supernova.
Yeah, you don't want to get him doing that.
No. So yeah, I felt like a right knob after that one, and Teostra kind of just laughed at everything I did. I got his tail at least, but yeah.
Lucky for some people with edged weapons.
Yes.
I've been killing
He's
him.
currently flying around in the sky, refusing to come down and breathing fire on me.
He's a jerk like that. Although, Crystal Burst. Give that a shot.
If I could find any, it looks identical to all the other dirt on the ground.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
There's like 4 patches in that middle area in Elder's Recess, but they blend into the ground until you're right on top of.
Yeah. And they look like all the other bits of random crystal shrapnel around the place. But you hit him in the face with them, and you got a chance of knocking him down. So there's that.
Except that it almost never does in practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're better off using a flash bomb.
Elder Dragons, they're serious business, and they're not going to stop being serious business anytime soon.
They're giant,
So, Monster
giant
Hunter,
mini jerky face.
Obviously.
Yes.
During my week this week, other than being continually sick, because apparently that's my life these days, I was basically too busy to play video games for most of the time, because the week before a public holiday gets mad at work, because everybody wants to get in all of their work in the last 5 minutes before the public holiday. I don't know what the urgency is, but they do, and so I end up working 10-hour days again, which is not really what I'd rather be doing. Good grief, this guy's going berserk on me, and I'm stunned again. But so I did play some Monster Hunter. I played a bit with Ari, I played a bit with Fern. I got all of the 3 Elder Dragons that you've got to kill to unlock the final boss done. And they were none too friendly. Actually, Ari talked up Vaul has like a lot who didn't really seem to be all that in the end.
No.
And then Sleep comes along and says, "Oh, he's the easiest one."
Yeah.
But yeah, so they were all brutal. Teostra, I think, is the one that I fear the most. Like the others, I feel are easy for me to handle, but Teostra just wrecks me all the time because I wear Legiana armor, so I'm vulnerable to fire. Even if I pump myself up with fire resist, it's still going to be a bit squishy compared to somebody wearing, a lament.
Yeah.
The other 2 I felt were quite manageable. Like, they still hurt like crazy. Not easy by any stretch of the imagination. But what we found is that they actually get an awful lot harder if you don't bring Elder Seal.
Yeah.
Because Fern was all like, "Oh, well, we'll see if we can do without Elder Seal. We'll go on and using elemental weaknesses," and we decided to take on Kushala Daora. By the end of the fight, we could neither see nor approach the boss.
No, Kushala is... Yeah.
It took us like 47 minutes to kill him.
we downed him in the last 5 minutes, yes. But if you don't have Elder Steel fighting Kushala Daora, he'll just completely flood the arena with tornadoes. And you can't see through them, you can't move through them.
That sounds like Kusha.
You can't see what he's doing, so he will suddenly dive out of a tornado and land on your face.
He is not a friendly customer at all.
Kushala is a big meanie face.
None of them involve getting killed.
Yes.
But so we did the final fight, Xenojiva. I can't say that I was blown away by it. Like, it was a decent enough fight, but mainly it was just long.
Yeah.
Like, really long. Like, really, really long. So I think that, it's... I don't know what to say. Like, it's not bad or anything, but I don't think I really want to solo it.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's quite doable, which I'm sure it is with a bit of practice, I don't really want to do it by myself because it's so long.
Yeah.
You're going to be pressured by him the entire time. He's never going to turn around and fight somebody else. You just got to sit there and chip away at him and chip away at him and chip away at him. It just doesn't really seem that fun as far as the final boss goes because he's not spectacular. He's just big.
You'd think an Elder Dragon deity would have a bit more flash in his fight.
Well, he is certainly flashing. There's bright lights everywhere, but
his
actual moveset is really boring.
Yeah.
That seemed to me when we did it 3-player. It seemed to me that the optimal thing for me to do was to stand under his belly in between all 4 of his legs and just shoot up the entire time. That seemed optimal. Because, getting trod on doesn't hurt all that much. Getting caught in a giant laser beam coming out of his mouth does.
Yes.
Yeah, like, that is how I've done the fight. That's how everybody else seems to do the fight. And I mentioned this before even y'all got to it while I was just complaining because I had to fight more damage in that fight from his incidental footsteps than I do from any attack he does.
Yeah.
But, yeah. He has the Madeir body type. It's almost a copy pasta. He's a little fatter in some places, and he copies a lot of the moveset, so I'm even less endeared to the boss, because I've already done that. It is almost plagiarism, some of the moves he has.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this was cool the first 10 times I killed it, so I was double angry at the boss when I got to him, and was disappointed at him.
It's a shame, because previous Monster Hunter games, the final boss has been... Well, actually, no, that's not quite true. 3's big boss was dumb and terrible. But 4, you had the Gore Magala, who, once you beat him once, goes Super Saiyan, and then will go ape on your face. And it is a great fight.
They made Xenojiva a 2-phase fight, but the second phase is so similar to the first. He does different stuff, but there's nothing visually different, so it doesn't feel like a 2-phase fight. It just feels like he's using his attacks more, and he just rages more. And once you get the tail off, it's actually easier than the first phase.
As long as you stay out of his fire, you're fine.
Yeah, like that fight, I really don't like Senajava because I also use small weapons. I use the sword and shield. I use the dual blades. I use the charge blade, which has to be in sword and shield mode half the time. Stuff that does not have great reach. And on that fight, you need the dude's horns, and those are on his head, and it's just barely high enough in the air where you can't quite reach it with normal swings if you stand under him. So you wind up doing like your one upward slash move for 20 to 30 damage over and over and over, and about 15 minutes later, it'll finally break.
Oh, you must be joking. My Teostra fight has just been gate-crashed by Nergigante.
Oh dear. That sounds incredibly unpleasant.
Yeah.
You might want to just save time and lay down and surrender now.
That's more or less what I did. I decided to play dead across the other side of the room. But, at least they showered the arena in their bits while they were at it. So
oh, nice.
I'm just going to go harvest all those. So even when I do get carted by a Teostra, I still will come out ahead.
Yeah. When Beetlejuice shows up, it's always a case of, ooh, money.
Yeah. Ooh, shinies.
Well, this is Nergigante, and he's even better at that, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, so... I am not sick of the game.
Nope.
And I decided to look at the... out of curiosity, I decided to take a squiz at the... whatchamacallits? The trophy listing on the PlayStation, and in the menu that you see on your PlayStation, and the... thing that surprised me is, like, a sizable percentage of people push all the way through the story mode. Like, the retention rate is really high.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is not what I expected, because for most games you find that the actual rate of finishing the story is surprisingly low.
It's
but not so on Monster Hunter.
Yeah, most games chill around 15% with people that've got the in-story mode trophy.
It's like 40 or something for Monster. I don't remember exactly what it was. I just remember that it seemed pretty large.
Yeah.
It's up there.
But yeah, I mean, it's not especially long story mode, but you can't be incompetent and get all the way to the end. So I guess most of the people who play this game really stick with it and get at least good enough to finish that.
Yeah, sooner or later, if you're bad, you'll sooner or later hit a wall. Baroth tends to be the first one.
Well, I'm bad and I haven't hit a wall yet.
There's nothing too bad in this game, and there is a gearable solution to any problem you run up against generally.
Yeah, if you're having a problem with a monster, revise your gear.
That's part of why I'm still playing, is those problems still show up in the tempered fights, but now there's more of them at once, so you have to make gear that can deal with multiple problems rather than one or two. So that's why I have fun building all the wonky mixed gear sets to deal with all that. So there's still plenty of stuff to think about and do at the end game too.
Yeah.
This game does have one of the lowest platinum trophy completions in like all of PSN of the actually doable platties.
We did kind of cheese one of the trophies earlier.
Yeah, there's a bug that intermittently shows up. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Where if you just re-accept the same guild card over and over again from the same one or two people, that'll count as a new guild card register every single time you do it. So you don't have to get 50 friends on your friends list.
Otherwise, you'd have to go into the public lobbies and just throw your guild card around at everyone and see who sends theirs back.
That is how most people do it.
Yep.
It sounds like a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
That was one of the bigger reasons I was not going for the platy. Like, I may or may not make enough progress on the crowns to where it's not that bad of a grind. Maybe 100 hours or so eventually. But I'm not going to go make 50 friends in this game. I do this stuff solo.
Incidentally, I got the Rotoban Small Crown yesterday.
I got the Balzac Small Crown, like, right when the show started.
Nice.
I wonder if they're intending to, like, over the course of time, have most of them be available through events.
I think so. We might as well go transition onto this now. The Spring Carnival. Currently, you've got a quest which sends you out to fight the 4 main monsters running around the Rotten Vale. There's an equivalent for each of the other zones as well, and those quests have a higher chance of having a crown-wielding monster show up.
Yeah, at present, the only confirmed way to increase your chances of getting a crown is to go to PSN profiles or your favorite trophy Chivo hunting website and find the specific investigation types and match all the parameters for it that have a chance to spawn a monster with the crown.
Yeah.
Like, only certain investigations cause the monster to spawn within a certain size range, depending on the parameters of the investigation and where it is and stuff. So you just go there and you try to find the parameters and match them up for whatever monsters you need.
Yeah. Or you wait for events. Because currently there is a Kula Yaku event which gives you a attractive helmet.
We killed a very big chicken.
We did kill a very big chicken. Several times.
3 times.
3 times.
And we got a googly-eyed rubber chicken mask.
We got a horse hat that's a chicken instead of a horse.
It's incredibly goofy. So we got the Spring Carnival coming up. And I believe that starts next week, if my information is correct. And what that entails is a lot of these old event quests coming back. So if you missed the Horizon Zero Dawn stuff, you can get that. If you want the Wiggler hat, which I recommend you get because it is a very, very good piece to have on hand for a support set, get that. It also looks idiotic. It does.
What's it do again?
Wide range, plus sockets.
Oh. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to do a wide range skill, which is you use a consumable and anyone within a certain radius of you gains that benefit as well. So yeah, very good for that. There's the Hunt the 4 monsters in each zone quest, which is a good way of farming up Hunter rank and crowns. And there's also the Mega Man stuff, which gives you the Mega Man Palico costume and weapon, as well as the alternate soundtrack depending on what weapon you're wielding, which is kind of neat.
I just knocked Kusha down inside of his tornado.
Except now he's flailing around in his tornado where you can't approach him.
Yep.
Enjoy.
Yeah, there are lots of signs like that fighting Elder Dragons.
Yeah.
So how do the Elder Dragons that have appeared before measure up in this one?
Well, a few of them actually have shown up.
No, I mean, like, are they the same? Are they better? Are they worse?
I'd say about the same.
I've heard some people... The biggest source of contention on the Elder Dragons seems to be the water ones. Some people think they're the best, and some people think they are the worst thing ever.
The ones that you fight underwater, or just the water elemental ones?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think it's the underwater ones.
Yeah.
They seem to be talking about swimming a lot.
That would be the underwater ones in 3.
Why would you want swimming in your game? My goodness.
I didn't mind it as much as some people did, but there are people out there who just loathe that mechanic.
Well, underwater sequences in games have a tendency to be very bad.
Yeah. It didn't help that some monsters became a whole lot more dangerous once they were underwater.
I mean, once you're playing with an entirely different moveset because your movement is 900% different underwater.
Yep.
And it doesn't feel natural, and the guy programming it isn't used to being underwater either.
Yep.
This is why water sections are bad.
Yeah.
Humans are not built to swim. Not for very long, anyway.
Not like that. So, yeah. I didn't mind it too bad, and the Gaiacrest fight in 3 I found really enjoyable underwater. A lot of people hated it, though.
Yeah, I've seen, like, there seems to be a war going on between whether they're the best or the worst.
Yeah. So, I guess it really depends if you can tolerate the swimming mechanic or not. Most people, it seems, cannot.
Yeah. And these type of games, especially in games that have at least some idea of difficulty in them, consistency is really important. And when you break that, a lot of people aren't going to like it.
Yeah. So yeah, they threw out that mechanic, the swimming mechanic, once 3 Ultimate came around on the 3DS. You had 4, which added the mounting mechanic, which got refined and kept. Generations added the various stances, which are gone, kind of. Various abilities that used to be part of your various stances are actually now baked into the base weapon, which is really nice. That's a lot of the jumps and things. So yeah, they're not afraid to try something new, and if something doesn't work, they will get rid of it, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, my only experience was not a very super positive one with you earlier in like the Wii U one. But that was on the Wii U, and I blame the Wii U for most of it. It didn't let me get a good feel for the game because that controller feels terrible.
I've still got Generations in there, and I really have not played as much of it as I would have liked.
I'm not going to kill a tempered Kushaladora in 30 minutes without wind resistance, am I?
Probably not, no. You spend a lot of that fight just kind of standing around and wobbling.
I need to give up on sub-objectives and just try and do as much damage as I can.
Yeah, at least trying to get his tail off.
No. That's causing me to waste too much time.
Oh dear.
It's hard to get his tail off. It's so narrow.
Yeah, and wiggly.
And he flies around all the time.
Yeah.
My goodness.
I forgot my flash pause at base too. I'm going to lose this one. That's okay.
Yeah. Where were we? Oh yeah, weeks. So yeah. Yeah. So we hit the end boss. We finished Monster Hunter World. So we're now into post game. All of us.
Tempered territory.
I have a quest to kill 2 tempered Basiliels. What are they called?
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
Right.
Basilgaius.
Beetlejuice. It's either
B52.
Beetlejuice or Beetlejuice. Yeah. Nobody says his actual name.
No. They always have a nickname for him, and usually it's something spiteful.
But,
well, he is very good at inspiring resentment. Like,
oh,
it
yes.
appears to be his super special skill.
That actual quest is really easy because they'll just keep blowing each other up, though.
Huh. I haven't actually attempted it yet because I wanted to go and farm up a bit of gear first. But if they're just going to blow each other up...
Yeah.
I guess I was sort of in the Doom mindset where creatures can fight, but light creatures can't damage each other.
Yeah. That's the thing with Beetlejuice, and he's a blast damage monster. He's immune to his own blasts, but not your blasts and not other monsters' blasts. And I guess it turns out other Beetlejuice blasts he's not immune to.
He very well might be, but his hippopotamus roll is still going to hit the other Beetlejuice nonstop.
Yeah. Let them fight. So I'll try that after the show, I think. We'll go and hunt some Beetlejuice. Knock down some B-52s.
Some bagel gooses.
Bisley Jodgers. I don't know.
I just love all the different nicknames for him. I can't pick a favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people just stick with either Beetlejuice or B-52. Beetlejuice because of his name, and B-52 because he's modelled after the B-52 bomber.
I've seen B-17 bomber, which I like better because it's a throwback to video game history.
Yeah, I just got carded for the third time by Teostra. This time I didn't even get to fight him. He just had me stunned for my entire life bar. As soon as I went into the room, pretty much.
He just noped you completely?
Yeah, this is why I don't like Teostra compared to the other two, because Teostra is the one who can stun you outright when you've taken no damage.
Yeah.
And if he does, you will die. If you just get unlucky and you die. End of story. That's what bothers me about the Elder Dragons, is that their mechanics, while interesting, often have combinations, because they're randomized, their patterns are very, very loose. Occasionally you can just die through no fault of your own. Like, there was no measure that I could take other than to have gear that made me immune to stun, if you can actually get that. I don't even know.
Yeah, you can get 3 ranks of stun resistance. It's
like
actually...
that would be the only way to not die. Because, you know, this happens to me multiple times every time I take on Teostra, is that he will kill me by just stunning me and then having his way with me.
That sounds really horrible when you say it like that.
And I don't buy the story that you can move the stick and in any significant way decrease the amount of time that you are stunned for, because either it has a ceiling so low that the most you can reduce it by is like 10%, or it doesn't do anything. And it wouldn't surprise me if it doesn't do anything, because nothing in this game is documented correctly.
Yeah.
Even the help that it gives you is sometimes wrong in game, I've found.
Yeah.
This is clearly from an earlier build, because that's not true anymore. Sort of wrong.
Yes. The Monster Hunter team has never been
so insignificant it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Monster Hunter team has never been particularly good at conveying things to their players. It's more like, we'll just put these mechanics in here and let the players figure it out for themselves.
It's such a number-heavy game, though. Having concrete information is useful, but really in this game, the most efficient way to play is to just go hit stuff and see what works, because you're not going to find any information that's consistent.
No, it's not the most efficient way to play. It's the fastest way to play. It's not the most efficient, because there is a lot that you will never discover that way.
Yeah.
Like, if you are talking about having an entire community doing that, that's one thing. You'll cover most things that way. The individual won't figure out, like, probably 70% of the rules of the game just playing by themselves.
I'm thinking
too much going on in the background.
I'm thinking more of the guy that's done a few Google searches, realized there's nothing there, and noticed that there are a couple things, but also realized that there's conflicting information on everything as well, and has just given up. So instead of continuing to search for new stuff, it's easier just to go test it yourself.
Yeah.
If you have a question and you're fairly familiar with the game, you go online, you're going to find 3 different answers about it.
Even that leads to epicycles. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, epicycles was one of the old theories of how orbits around the sun worked, because it was once believed that they were circular. And it turns out that they're not. But a theory to account for this was developed called epicycles, where there were sort of like, wobbles in position, which accounted for the wobbles observed from Earth. Now, epicycles had a whole bunch of maths behind them, and it worked out perfectly in line with observations. It just doesn't actually happen in real life.
Huh.
So the explanation we use now is varying elliptical orbits, and that we have got observational data given our better knowledge of how to observe things than we once did, but the epicycle math still works. It's just wrong. It doesn't tell you the truth about the way the thing works, but you can use it as a rule of thumb. And that's what you get when you determine things experimentally in Monster Hunter. You have no way of knowing whether your theory is epicycles or whether your theory is actually true.
Yeah.
It's I'm not gonna do sciencey talk, but anyway, the general rule has been, if I'm unsure about something, get minimal data on it and then accept it may be wrong anyway.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, that, like, roughly 50% of the stuff you've told me about this game has turned out to be wrong. Either because I found out myself that it was wrong, or because the community found out it was wrong and I read it. And it had, like, wide acclaim as being the correct answer at the end of the controversy.
Yeah.
Oh dear. It was especially bad when the game first came out.
Oh yeah, there was absolutely nothing. And it was even worse because none of the previous maths from the previous games really carried over.
Like, you expect this kind of stuff with a new release, right? You expect it for, like, the first week. But this lasted... It's still going.
It's still going.
It's at the point most games would be at by the second day of their release. This kind of stuff normally gets cleared up in number-heavy games.
Nope.
This game is like doing your taxes. Like, have you ever looked at the screens required in order to select and customize a bowgun? Like, it's just a deluge of numbers everywhere.
Yeah. Yep.
Alright, I may have been carted by Teostra, but I got enough materials on the process to complete my Gigacles.
Neat.
I am currently stuck in a tornado, stuck against a tree, getting chain stunned into it, even though I'm not stunned. And Kusha's just doing casual swipes at me.
I had that in an arena not too long ago, going up against Uragan. It planted me in a corner and then just started rolling, and kept rolling, and kept rolling, and my health bar just drained away.
Oh dear.
Yeah, there are a lot of monsters that have "is it my turn yet" mechanics, and they bug the crap out of me, especially since they show up later more and more, and they become more and more noticeable. Like, the first few times, sure, it's something to dodge, but after a while, it becomes "is it my turn yet?"
Yeah.
No, the answer to that question is no.
Teostra is
It never will be.
Teostra's an annoying example of it. He'll do things like he'll roar, and then he'll swat you and stun you, and then he'll swat you again, and while you're getting up from that, he'll wind up his explosion.
Yeah.
Well, there's also, like, enrage phases like that as well. Like, enrage phases for, say, Kieran, Teostra, and, like, for instance, Teostra and Rathian basically have the same enrage phase in different forms, and that they will just run around psychotically, and you might as well not bother to fight them.
Yeah, just stay out of their way.
You're not going to do anything meaningful, and your chance of getting hit multiplies by 1,000 times.
Yeah. I don't have a cute pet name for it, but Rathian just has this phase that she'll go into sometimes, even more than Rathalos does, and she'll just go back and forth and run back and forth with her whole body as a hitbox for like 10 cycles.
Yeah.
Unless it could be longer if she really feels like she doesn't like you. And you just can't do anything during the phase. If you get near her and you're using a melee weapon, you're just going to get hit.
Mm-hmm.
Even with a bow, it's best not to even try, because you have to stand still.
Yeah.
And she would turn and run you over while you're firing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rough stuff like that. And Uragan has a similar phase, although you can knock him out of it much more easily. He doesn't have much tolerance to keep it going.
Yeah, but this is why Kusha and what's the other one? I'm brain farting on the name right now. And Zin and Java are the Elder Dragons I dislike fighting the most, because their Is It My Turn Yet, especially for melee phases, is really, really long.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you did this week, Vaul?
I'm trying to think if there's anything else I did this week. I haven't even done much on Grand Order. I think I'm most of the way through London. I'm pretty close to the end, I think. But I barely made it through the last Demon Pillar, and I have no idea what I'm going to do when they confront me with another one, which I'm sure they will.
Command Seals?
There's a chance they will anyway. Like, I don't want to waste Command Seals on that, because it's one of those things that when I use them, I feel like, oh, well, I actually lost and cheated to win.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
It's like, you didn't really beat that boss. You cheat code. That's what that once-a-day crap in any game feels like to me.
Well, Command Seals are even worse. It's once every 3 days you can do that.
Yeah, it's like, you can really cheat, but...
Yeah, you lost this fight.
Really do the fight.
Yeah, you can get back up at full health, but yeah.
I don't actually have a problem with using them to supercharge your Noble Phantasm out the gate, because, there are some things that I could not conceive of a way to get through without that, mainly because I was trying to punch above my weight. Like, I was that back during the Kara no Kyokai event when I was routinely trying to do level 80 quests with level 50 servants.
Yeah.
So, it was sort of a necessary measure at that point.
Yeah.
But, I don't like using the revive your entire party thing. I don't know if I've ever done it. I don't think I have.
I've done it a couple of times.
I did it to get Mystic Code once, but y'all had played more than me at this point, so...
But, I haven't done it, but I think that I'd probably be forced to against the next Demon Pillar, because the AoE damage is too good. And I just don't have a good... I don't have a good support servant. End of story. Like, you basically need to have something like Jeanne d'Arc, or you could get away with Tamamo, or maybe Waver if you're really, really, really good. Or maybe you could even use Hans. I got huge mileage out of Hans during the Kara no Kyokai event. The problem is that Hans is still stuck at level 35 because I haven't found a source of forbidden pages yet, and I can't ascend him. But
I know where to get the stuff to ascend both Liz and Nero, but the drop rates are abysmal.
Yeah, but I mean that's how they're supposed to keep you playing. But
yeah,
that's got
at any rate, the Da Vinci and the Seven Fake Servants event is coming up this month.
At some point,
April. We don't know exactly when.
I've seen it guessed at about April 13th, I think, but that's probably just that, a guess.
Yeah, and that should give us the opportunity to restock on some items. And it will also come with the Jean Alta banner, which is one that I'm looking for. Jean Alta's got a strong reputation, but you could make a good argument that Ku Alta and Ozymandias are both better than her.
Ku Alta looks like he's just pure personified edge.
Neither of them are cute, so
no
point. I've seen people online saying that they just automatically burn servants that are male. But yeah, so I'm waiting for that banner. Plus, I've already spent too much time using berserkers, and it's it's frustrating because most of the time they get focus fired and die because I'm unlucky. So yeah. But yeah, I'm hoping I can clear that soon, and get into the A Pluribus Unum arc, the America arc, which is apparently hilarious. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I haven't spent a lot of time playing it, mainly because I've been busy. Naturally, over Easter, I spend most of my time at church rather than at home playing games on my phone. So,
yeah, got to get that new concept hero, yo.
Pardon?
Got to get that new conceptual hero just to say we've got some of them, which is Edison.
Yeah, Edison's a weird one. Like he bends the rules of the Nasuverse even further than FGO already does. Like FGO, amongst people who are big Nasuverse fans who take it really seriously, they will hate FGO because FGO sort of turns the rules of the Nasuverse into a pretzel and breaks most of them repeatedly in small ways, which you have to basically fan wank away by saying that it's an alternate universe. The rules are allowed to be a little tiny bit different.
Yeah. But if I understand it correctly, Thomas Edison, he's at the same time, he's Thomas Edison, the spirit, but he's also the combined spirit of the first 50 US presidents or something. And also a lion, because reasons.
Basically, they've added the conceptual weight of the entire lineage of American presidents because Edison is so recent that he simply doesn't have the conceptual weight to be decent as a heroic servant.
Yeah.
So they've used him as a base and synthesized one out of US presidents.
Yeah.
Does the Throne of Heroes have a support line I can call? Because some of them presidents don't deserve a spot.
Well, some of them also punch above their weight, so I guess it all balances out.
Yeah. To be fair, there are some truly horrible people still on that Throne of Heroes.
Yeah. You don't really have to be a good person to be in there.
No, you do not.
Which is one of the things that people don't like about FGO is that, the summoning of anti-heroes is supposed to be an aberration, but it's pretty much par for the course of the Childiasing system.
Yeah.
The game has a habit of taking the standard rules broken and making them a norm in the Nasuverse with a lot of things. I mean, it's kind of necessary, though, if you want to keep these characters being used over and over again, but not a whole lot of way you can get around it. But...
Gotcha. Like, you would think that summoning a counter-guardian as a heroic spirit would be exceptional, especially considering one that's basically unknown by anybody, even within the time that he was relevant.
Yeah.
But he gets summoned to every single property imaginable.
Yeah. You've got the supposed summoning of a deity or deity tier servant is supposed to be something that never happens, and yet there's a good pile of them there.
It becomes almost a running gag about how Roman thinks it's impossible, but it keeps turning out to happen.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you can't summon a deity. Oh, look, a deity.
That's okay. We'll just shove it inside of somebody.
No, sometimes they don't even bother with that.
They don't bother with that. That's something that only happens in a handful of select cases. And like that's way easier to hand wave. It's the situation that you can have things like Artemis just usurping Orion's summon entirely.
Yeah,
and
which is a deity usurping a deity, by the way.
Well, I
don't
know. It depends where in his life you're summoning him from, and people like Hercules, who became deities later, don't count because they, at some point in their life, were mortal.
I think Romulus, the Romulus they summon, is his deity form. It's definitely his hammy form.
Roma.
I like Romulus.
He looks like he's trying out for the Ginyu Force.
He does. It's brilliant.
No, it's not. It's very weird and disturbing.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. Actually, we might have to log in again tomorrow. There is a Fate Granddaughter at a April Fool's event where it swaps out the card art for the Learn Granddaughter comic version of each character.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah. Merlin's is great. Merlin is getting kicked in the face by Foo.
If I was on their dev team, I would spend way too much money and resources on an April Fool's joke to make all the female servants male just to hack everybody off, including Astolfo.
That would be... Well, Astolfo would look exactly the same.
I think that if you made a super beefcake manly Astolfo, I think he'd probably just grow in popularity.
That's worrying.
Because it doesn't seem to be matter. It doesn't seem to matter what you do with Astolfo. He just becomes more popular.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
There's a few characters in there that have a gender flip version, namely Arturia. You actually get Arthur.
But that's because she was. If it's the prototype version, unless there's another one.
No, it's prototype.
Yeah, that's prototype.
She was another piece of pseudo media.
Although I don't know if he appears in the story. Maybe he does, and maybe there's a reason. Because I mean, like, there are multiple forms of Arturia that appear in the story.
Yeah, like first chapter, Arturia Alta. There you go.
Well, also her Lancer form appears in both Alta and non-Alta forms at various points as well.
And hams it up.
But yeah, Astolfo is in Extella, along with Charlemagne, who is sort of the central character in Extella Link, I should say. And he catalyzes a lot of the stories involving Astolfo, but yeah, it's not going to harm his popularity any for him to keep appearing, and I think it's sort of like he's appearing for the same reason that Iskander did. Like, there's no reason for Iskander to appear in Fate Extella. Like, he doesn't really have anything to do with the story.
But money.
No, but he's going to come in and shout everything.
Gotta sell that game.
Yeah, he makes the best argument for monarchy ever. But
yes.
Yeah, so Astolfo's jammed in there. I'm sort of a bit curious as to why they have so diligently avoided ever putting Roland in, considering what a prominent historical mythological character he is. But they've always dodged that one. Like, despite the fact that Durandal is one of the most solidly canonically established noble phantasms in the entire setting and has been since like Fate Stay Night, the original visual novel. It's like one of the first things that appears in your list of noble phantasms. You never see Roland anywhere ever. He appears in some of the peripheral material, but he's never been a major feature.
I think I saw a picture of him somewhere in Grand Order, but not playable.
No, he does appear in Grand Order as sort of like, you know, a cutout, but he's not a servant you can summon, despite his prominence as a hero. And there are a lot of heroes that I'm surprised aren't, and they're like, in one of the alternate universes, Richard the Lionheart has been summoned as Saber, but he's never appeared in Grand Order. And I think amongst historical figures, he is one of the most deserving, I think.
Yes.
Although it would probably make more sense for him to be summoned as Rider, I think, since what he's most famous for is riding around taunting Saracen armies.
Yeah. It's easier to say, you know, the Crusades, he did that. So
yeah, like as far as legitimate, larger than life military leaders that we actually have primary sources on their actions, like he's probably, you know, ranks among them. Like it's easy to talk about the sort of glory and might of Alexander the Great, but we don't have any primary sources on Alexander the Great.
No.
Like, we've got secondary and tertiary sources, maybe even mostly tertiary ones at that, that he even existed, and the same applies to other major characters like Hannibal in there. But we have primary sources for Richard the Lionheart and his heroism in battle, so I think that he should show up, since it's not a matter of people believing in his story. Everybody knows he existed, and it was a long time ago, and he's had time to build his legend, time to appear in many movies. I wonder what that sort of thing would do to a servant's power in the Titan Moon universe.
Yeah.
He might. They have been using up a lot of the people associated with England, especially the Arthurian times, so maybe they're starting to slow down on them and hold back a few of them for bigger events so they can pull them.
There's a whole pile of... big trouble with my lungs again.
Don't die.
But the second chapter is coming out for Grand Order, and with it a whole pile more servants. There've been a whole bunch previewed, but it's sort of hard to say who all of them are. Like, one of them is blatantly Scathach Caster, but there are a lot of other ones that are very hard to tell who they are. But yeah, Cosmos and the Lost Belt is coming out and bringing with it a whole raft of new servants. It's sort of implied that, like, Princess Anastasia has art, and that usually gets followed up by a servant, but not necessarily, as in the case of Roland.
What would they put her in as a caster?
Pardon?
Why would she be a caster?
Well, I don't know. She's a central character in the story because it's in Russia at the Russian Revolution, I think. But yeah, it's sort of hard to say what exactly the roles are going to be. But there are a whole pile of them, and I've seen like brief glimpses of a character who looks an awful lot like Keto. So they might be planning to do the whole indwelling with a servant shtick again.
Oh, that would be horrific.
Except you can only inhabit a human with a personality that's close enough to your own if you're a heroic spirit.
So we need to find someone who's creepy and has absolutely zero morals. Right.
Well, I don't know. Like, there are a few others as well. Tamamo Assassin is going to appear. Although, as usual, it's unclear whether it's Tamamo no Mae or whether it's one of the other Tamamo 9.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them.
They always make that ambiguous. But yeah, that's pretty hard to tell who's going to appear. I can't identify most of them based on the art. And I don't know if they've even announced who they are, because I can never pick up the Japanese pronunciation of names of all sorts of languages just by listening to the Japanese. But there's lots of preview promotional videos floating around at the moment for Cosmos and Lost Belt. So if you're interested, you can join in the speculation online, because there's a lot of it.
Let's take a quick squizzy here.
I must ask though, Ari, is Fern roboting for you, or is it just my connection?
Yeah, I'm hearing him roboting too, so it's on Fern's end.
It might just be because I actually tried to do something with the internet.
Yeah, I was gearing up to turn Monster Hunter off because I thought I was lagging.
But
yeah, it's just Fern.
Oh dear. Is it still going, or is it all right now? Silence. All right, silence means it's probably not all that good. Right. In that case, while everything is currently catching fire and exploding, we're going to take a break, and then we'll come back with more show. We shall be back soon.
we really need to make a soundbite or something for when we cut out like that. And have to take a break.
So yeah,
From Hello Internet has one I like that's just do whenever they do a manual cut.
nope. So we're back.
So we're back.
Yep.
We were in the middle of a Grand Order tangent during Vaul's week.
Yeah, and a Grand Order tangent for us could go in indefinitely, so we might as well take the cue to stop talking about it.
Yeah, as much fun as speculating as to who all this list of new servants is, there's just no figuring out who this could possibly be in a lot of cases, so that's going to get us nowhere.
Yeah, the interpretations of the of Type Moon associated artists of a given thing from some historical figures past tend to be very rather widely.
Liberties is a nice way of putting it, yes.
Imaginative.
I suppose you could like compare and contrast designs to what's already out. That's about as far as you could reasonably take it.
Yeah.
Like that guy holding a jet engine could be one of the Wright brothers for all you know.
Could be.
I think the Wright brothers are already in the list of valid servants, but I think that they always get summoned together, like Anne Bonny and Mary Read.
Pretty sure they're riders as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? I don't think there's much else for my week. I won't be able to recapture my train of thought even if I did have something else. So
nope.
We'll just move on to Ari because my throat is really not going to support me talking more.
All right, Ari, your week, sir.
So, for most of this week, I was stuck at work, but the bank finally decided to cooperate with me when I looked at the lady that's been handling our issue and just said, okay, well, I'll just stand here and see if I can help you point out any problems while you finish this up. Because for 4 days in a row, she was like, oh yeah, it'll be done tomorrow. It'll be done tomorrow. It'll be done tomorrow. And so when the fourth tomorrow came, I just stood over her shoulder in the politest way possible with this big dumb grin on my face, and it got done in 2 hours.
That's because you got there and went creepy on her.
Yeah, she probably thought you were going to like show up at her house and stab her if she didn't, get your paperwork done.
The thought of lecturing her crossed my mind several times, but this seemed to be the most effective way just to get me out of the fracking work cycle I was in. I did not care by that point. It was getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was past ridiculous a few days before that, but because this is extended from a 3-day thing into a 3-week thing, I paid because of it, and I had people breathing down my neck nonstop, so I needed to get this done. But yeah, I stood beside the bank lady, basically just stared at her computer screen with this dumb grin on my face for 2 hours, and it got done.
All right, so lesson learned. If things don't go your way, get creepy.
Well, just be present when you need something to be done.
This is the case in all situations when you're relying on somebody else to do paperwork for you. You have to stand over them and make them do it. Because they are not going to do it if you leave the room. It will become less important than the people who are continuing to stand there.
Yes. They will want you gone. So... yeah, the dumb grin was just me trying to be as polite as I could and not come off as angry, but I did not have a real good way to do that with how absolutely livid I was at the situation and how it was going on.
Yeah.
It was more like me choking down the fury of 1,000 suns because this was stupid. Anyway, I'm not going to go into the specifics about it, but basically, it was a pain in the butt and it got done finally. So most of my week was eaten up with that. But around Thursday or Friday, things finally calmed down, and I'm back to. I've got until Tuesday. I've got off work, although I might go in Monday and Tuesday for a couple hours anyway to get things done and set up for next week, so it won't be as hectic. But yeah, after those days, for at least a week, I'll be able to take 6-hour days and call that my downtime for the month, I think. Which will be nice. I've needed a break for a while. I've been going on the heavy side of the schedule for quite a few weeks now. That's why I haven't talked about anything. I've had nothing to do but work.
That's a bit of an understatement. You've been really hammering it.
Yeah, there'll be some days I just don't even bother turning on my computer or sit down at it. It's usually on all the time. But But yeah, it's just I've been really burnt. But eventually it all ended and it's done, and I'm very happy. So I needed something to do right away that was not going to take a lot of brain power, and for some dumb reason, I'm sure it's a stupid reason, like some YouTuber made a video about it, but SMT3 Nocturne's been talked about on the internet a lot recently in certain communities. So
Yeah.
I got the random urge to replay it again.
Yeah, there's a video going around.
To stick your hand in a meat grinder.
Well, yes. There's a reason it being is because there's been a lot of footage coming out of Persona, Dancing Moon Knight, and Dancing Star Knight. And the reason is one of Joker's skins is the Demi-Fiend. He's already got the haircut. So
Didn't the Demi-Fiend have like hair like what's his name? The artist guy in Persona 5.
He's got like flat black hair and a hair antenna, but it's not in a Hojai. It's like a literal cone-shaped antenna.
Yeah,
in the back middle of his head.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, Joker's already got pretty much the same frame and hair color, I guess. Then, so yeah, he makes a passable Demi-Fiend.
So, as usual with replays of Nocturne, what will happen inevitably is I will get to somewhere just after Metador and get bored.
But that's only after you've seen Dante once. How could you be bored when you know there's more Dante coming?
Yeah, I know. I recruited him the first time I played. Yeah, I played a lot of games. Yeah, I did the replay. Although I do want to take him to endgame and see how good he gets. I've heard
he doesn't get very good.
Like, no.
He ceases being very good at about like level 70-ish.
Yeah. So. I've only ever actually finished the game for 2 endings. I've still got like 2 or 3 more to go get eventually, maybe one day. Even though I already know what happens because I've wikied them by this point. But yeah, I've only done the Freedom and True Demon endings, so
that's alright.
I was going to see what the normal demon ending looked like. All the reason endings sound really stupid because these people have really dumb reasons to make a world. These people are stupid. That hospital's RNG on dudes and it was pretty bad.
Oh no.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a grind fest. It's something to do while listening to audiobooks more is what this is. And I've been what did I boot up? I started to re-listen to the Dresden Files, the side jobs book to get more back into that while I wait on the other short story compilation that will come out in July, but I couldn't get into that because I re-listened to it a few months prior. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just let this one sit. So on a whim, I've never read Dune or watched the movie Dune, but everybody's recommended it to me at some point that I know. So I downloaded that and been starting it up, but I'm not very far in it yet, so I can't really talk about it.
Well, recommending Dune to somebody is like recommending Star Wars to somebody. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
it's
just one of the things I've never got around to reading. There's a lot of things like that. You're just like, yeah, I know I should. I know it's popular. I know people say it's good, but there's a pile of those like on a list somewhere. I'll get through it eventually.
But you don't get Chivos for reading Dune.
No. You could play the Westwood game. The good one, not the bad one.
I suppose.
There's a bad one, there's a bad one that was done on the Dark Reign 2 engine, and this is what happens if the planet Dune is stuck in an eternal night. Just awful.
I see.
Yeah, it was bad. That was Dune Emperor.
But, I see. Yeah, I'm barely into the book at all, so I know effectively nothing. I haven't even heard names enough times to remember any. But yeah, so that'll probably be the next book I chew through. The rest of the time this week I spent, I jumped on Monster Hunter and tried to get a few things done, and for 4 hours of it, I got absolutely caught up in organizing my stupid item box, my equipment box.
Oh dear.
Because the equipment box auto sort options are dumb and stupid, and they don't give you enough options.
I wouldn't even call them sorting.
No.
Like, I've never had a situation... Like, I wish I had never hit any of the sort options, because my natural sorting from using my box when I started the game was better than the way it's stuck now.
Yeah, I want all thing... it gets especially bad if you start building the charms, because you got a completionist mindset going. and you start building even the dumb ones. And you're like, okay, I need everything related to dodge right next to each other. I need everything related to fire right next to each other. Like, you start doing this to it, and it just gets out of hand, and you get in this organizing nightmare that never ends, and you look at the clock, and it's been 4 hours. And the box still is organized. And then you make 2 pieces of gear, and all your organization's shot.
Yep, and
because for some reason, it must have a perpetually empty box at the end of the list that drives me bananas.
Yeah, it does.
Like, I just want the last box to hold all the crap I'm never going to use. That's what the last tab is for, like the chicken helmet, or the Ryu set, or the DLC stuff you got for pre-order in the game. Like, junk I'm never going to equip again. But no, I stick it in the last box, and it's like, oh, you need another tab, and it just makes a new one for me.
Yeah.
Dang it.
I don't think there is actually a cap on how many it can give you.
Yeah, and this kind of thing bugs me to death in games. My bags have to be organized in a very specific way, otherwise it drives me bananas. And this game is not very helpful when it comes to organizing your junk.
No.
So I spent 4 hours just sitting there, individually moving one item at a time, shifting entire types of armor and weapons down the list to get the box looking at least somewhat organized so I can find stuff quickly. Because when I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do Kushiladora now. Let me go find my Wind Charm, which I don't remember what level it is. I don't remember what rarity it's at, because level and rarity have nothing to do with each other. And I don't know where it is in this pile of charms that are all just next to each other. Or, okay, I need to break up my set a bit so I can get tremor resistance for Zenijava. Okay, which armor pieces had that again? And why are they not all next to each other? Or, why are some of my weapons in the middle of my armor? This stuff just happens with this item box. You do not do it yourself because it auto-sorts from front to back and there's nothing you can do about that. It's just the most obnoxious bank system I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in recent memory anyway. I'm sure I've seen a worse one, but right now it's at the forefront of my brain. So yeah, that has been me brainstorming ideas even after those 4 hours of how I can possibly organize that box better. And then ruin it as soon as I craft one new piece of gear.
Yep.
Even giving myself like 2 extra slots of wiggle room per armor piece, per cluster of charms, it still wasn't enough. Like, it still got messed up. And now it's a mess again. Ugh. Just, that drove me nuts. That was a tangent and a half, but yeah.
Yeah.
How the heck am I supposed to beat Black Diablos in the arena? He can hit me from anywhere.
Mm-hmm. You can climb up on... Oh, which arena is it? Is it the one with the usable stuff in it, or is it the one with...
It's got usable stuff in it, but, you know, he'll just burrow up through the wall and hit me.
Yeah, she's kind of a jerk like
jump
that.
Off, he'll burrow down through the wall and hit me. My goodness. This thing's horrible. I had no trouble fighting it outside. Fighting it in a small hole is much harder.
Actually, well, with melee weapons, it doesn't really matter that much because you're going to be on the boss's nuts anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go anywhere near his nuts.
She doesn't have any nuts.
The girl.
Yeah.
I suppose so. But yeah. So, yeah, Monster Hunter. I'm still playing at Tempered Rank, which is surprising me. I thought I would be done with the game after I'd played post-game for a little bit and killed every monster at least once, but...
You haven't even done augmentations yet.
Yeah, I just now I'm getting drops for augmentations. They surprisingly don't drop as... I thought they'd be a little more common than they are right now, but they just don't drop. And they take a gem every time you want to augment something, like a specific monster's gem type. One of the Elder Dragons, usually. Like, you need...
it's supposed to be the in-game grind. It has to last until they've got new DLC for you.
Yes.
That does take quite a while, so be sure it's a weapon you like that you're upgrading. Like, I'm upgrading... I'm working on my my critical dual blades right now. I was punching Kusha in the face to try and get one of his gems so that I can upgrade the crit on my my dual blades, although it might be moot at this point. I'm pretty close to the crit cap. It might be a better idea just to put in attack damage, but that requires also a Teostra gem. And while I do not have the problems with Teostra that y'all do when fighting him, because I hoard fire resist like it's gonna run out and they're gonna not have anymore. It still takes forever for me to get the tail off and kill because of my T90 weapons.
Yeah.
I've got a better weapon for that stuff. Like, I'm working on a switch axe, but I keep forgetting about it, so I never finish it.
the wing drake just positioned me underneath a Diablo in such a way that I could not get out.
Oh dear. Those wing drakes,
Why
I
is
swear,
this
have it out to
happening
us.
me? Every time I get a wing drake these days, it has placed me underneath a monster.
It is, yeah. I swear, the higher your hunter rank goes, the less reliable those stupid pterodactyls are. Like they'll just start dropping you in worse and worse places. Like at first, when I got into high rank, it was like, okay, 1 out of 4 times it'll drop me off in a swamp somewhere, and there's usually no monsters around. And then it was about half the time, and then it was 3/4 of the time, and then they started dropping me next to monsters.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Like, well, I did want to get here fairly quickly, but this is a little too quickly. I need to go get the budget stuff from the chest. Thank you very much. I need them rations.
And then poverty items.
And them rations are useful because you can only make 4 per raw meat per mission.
Mm-hmm.
So I use all the budget ones every single time. So useful if you use stamina-hungry weapons like the dual blades. You're just like, oh, I accidentally demon moded myself down to empty stam. Let me just chew on a ration for half a second. Okay, back to full.
Nom nom nom. All right.
To build up your meter really fast. But yeah, I'm still playing it and having fun with it. It's a game that can hold your attention because there's a lot of stuff to do, and if you like checklists, they're not official checklists other than the Chivos, but there's a lot of stuff you can checklist in that game, and I like checklists. Checklists are good.
Mm-hmm.
I thoroughly enjoy the concept of a checklist game. so it has managed to hold my attention, and really the like I mentioned earlier, you're trying to solve more than one problem at endgame as well. With monsters, like now the monster will also one-shot you unless you don't have a certain defense threshold, and its effects becomes much harder to deal with them, in addition to the regular junk. So you're now solving 3 or 4 problems per monster when you're making a gear set for him, rather than just, do I have enough damage not to die in 1 hit, and can I kill him before time runs out? Which you still have to do, but you're going to also find yourself running away a lot more because they hit a lot harder, and whether it's because they have more health or because you just don't hit them as much because you're panic healing, the fights take longer. So, yeah. I'm enjoying it. I like playing with friends in that game. It's a good social activity for me. I still haven't quite done 50 missions, but I've got to be close with people.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. Just to grab a couple of friends and flail away the monsters.
Yeah, so many dumb interactions and mechanics in that game make for good story time. Like, the guy with the charge blade in axe mode is just trying to chop the tail by mashing the triangle button, and the poor guy on the other side of the monster is getting wombo comboed and juggled in the air.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I tried to do some pugs.
Oh dear.
The pugs in this game are some of the worst players in the world, because I need the SOS Flare Chivo.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and these guys are terrible at this video game. And I've noticed a pattern here, right?
Okay.
So, if you just find one dude, you can tell immediately from what thing his Palico's using how good he's going to be and how often he's going to die. If he has the healing thing on his Palico, he's going to die 3 times and you're not going to kill that monster. It's just not going to happen. Like, this guy clearly has no clue what he's doing and has to rely on that cat to occasionally save him. It has happened every single time I've got a guy with the Vigor Wasp thing. And if he has a... I haven't run into too many with the flash pod stuff. If they have a plunder blade, they're probably going to be okay. And I haven't bumped into the other ones, but if I see one with a Vigor Wasp, things always go downhill, and the guy just gets owned. These people do not know what tremor resistance is. They don't know what the defense stat is. They just come in here either with, like, I don't know, the thing that increases the research level of stuff when you get new materials or something, because they're not doing any damage, and they die in 1 or 2 hits no matter what happens. And they're perpetually stuck in some kind of animation because they're not putting any skills on to make it lessen. It's so frustrating. Like, you knew we were fighting Zenijava. You know this guy does trimmer stuff all the dang time. Why don't you have at least 2 ranks to that skill? You're never going to get to do anything if you have to stand under his feet if you don't have 2 ranks of it.
Well, if they've never done it before, then I'm going to know that.
But he has to have done it before, because... Oh, well, I guess you can send it up your first time.
You can, once you've done the cutscene.
Yeah, people chain do this boss every time they do it immediately every time he shows up. So you can only do it the first time once, as with everything in life. It's just these people are bad at this video game. In general, for weapons, people are the best at staying alive and seeming to do damage and be effective as well. It's what inspired me to go make one. People with Insect Glaive don't actually do anything, but at least they don't die because they're stuck in the air the whole time. I've never seen one that's actually able to land on the monster.
The really good ones will be bouncing around between the wings most of the time, but you don't see too many good ones, admittedly.
Yeah, the Charge Blade folks are either the people that have got the mechanics of the game down pat and are fairly good, or they watched a YouTube video that said it's the best weapon in the game and have no clue how to use it.
The latter.
Yeah, it is a coin flip on that one so far. I've had about half and half for it show up. Hammers, I generally can't even tell what hammers are doing, to be fair. But they seem to be doing something.
Usually.
Spinning, usually. Yeah, you're supposed... With a bladed weapon, you're supposed to be hugging the monster's butt. A hammer's supposed to be hugging the monster's head.
Yeah.
So, if you're both in the same spot, one of you is doing something wrong.
People using dual blades have apparently not heard me talk about how great rations are, and will accidentally start running when they're out of stamina, and you will watch them sit there and huff and puff for a full 5 seconds while their stamina bar recharges.
Heh.
Like, game. How did they beat it?
Okay, fighting two Diabolosses at the same time is not a winning proposition, I'm here to tell you. Because I'm getting wrecked.
Yeah, that does not sound like a whole lot of fun.
I forgot what weapon I used for that quest.
I'm not even doing that quest. This is just the sort of thing that happens to me on a daily basis.
Oh, dear. But yeah.
I'm not kidding when I say this game does not like me.
Yeah.
It mistreats me constantly.
You just gotta learn to live with the abuse,
I'm
man.
just trying to mind my own business, and it's like Black Diablos and Diablos. They're both here.
It's tough love. It could be worse. It could be like Dark Souls tough love, where they just kill you for no reason.
Yes.
At least it's not a scripted event that gives you no chance to survive in Monster Hunter.
Well, the thing with a scripted event is it typically happens one time.
Not in Dark Souls.
Not in Dark Souls. No.
Well, Dark Souls is special and for special people.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway,
But
do we have any news this week? The answer is no.
I've seen nothing. That's why I was rambling my week so long.
It's on holiday.
Yeah.
Like it's a holiday weekend. Well, it's a holiday and a half weekend if you count April Fools, because everybody's prepping to do stuff for that.
And by prepping, they usually mean hiding from all their friends.
April Fool's Day. I don't like April Fool's Day. It's like that day in the year where you're allowed to tell cruel and unpleasant lies, and people are supposed to laugh instead of punching you in the face.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm glad it's on a weekend and a holiday this time because I don't need information from anywhere. So I can just look and sift through the occasional funny things that show up on the internet for it, and I don't have to go digging around for information during April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
That is a pain in the butt. I had to do that either last year or the year before, and I got misinformation that screwed things up really bad because it was April Fool's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And another one of my friends told me a horror story about something similar too. It's just, I hate this holiday. I like the day after the holiday when there's a couple ha-has to look at, but I hate the holiday itself.
I don't understand why it exists. What I'm more curious about is there a way to remove it? Like, would it ever be possible to get rid of it?
It's pretty hard to pry things out of the collective consciousness these days.
Like, because it's a bad festival that has no upsides. Like, nobody laughs at these things on April Fool's Day.
Some people do, but I'm pretty sure that's because they're masochists.
No, the people that laugh are the ones that have perpetuated the really cruel jokes on other people. They're the only people that get entertainment. It's a holiday for sadists, not masochists. But yeah, it's very much a disaster waiting to happen. Like, this is the day in the year where everybody cries wolf to ensure that the highest number of bad things happen afterwards.
Yeah, I do not have a very high Schadenfreude stat for my brain, so I don't get anything out of April Fool's Day. But I know a lot of people that do, and I'm like, I'm friends with people that are freaking sociopaths.
All right. we really only got one little thing I found, which was Arxis is teasing a new RPG project. But the reveal is April 1st. So we can't trust it.
Well, if they announced it before, well, they put the
No,
date on the poster,
no.
so you can't trust it. No.
Yeah.
There's that what was it, a sweary game or something that was announced before April 1st, but is blatantly an April Fool's joke.
Sweary
Yeah.
being not that what was it called? I can't think of it. Brain farting.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
This was announced 2 days before April Fool's Day and has April Fool's Day on the banner. This is not a real thing.
Yeah. So see, this is why we hate April Fool's Day. You cannot trust
Yeah.
anything.
Even if we did find news for you guys about upcoming stuff, we
Yeah.
have about a 50% chance of just being outright wrong because we were lied to.
Yeah. But this week it's been a lot of well, actually, I have to say I've gotten a certain amount of amusement out of the crying around Far Cry 5. So when we first saw it, we kind of said, yeah, it could be in poor taste given the current political climate and things like that. Having the game set in the south of America.
Well, the South, the middle, smack dab middle of America, with the South's culture plastered on it.
Yeah. So it turns out that's not the case. It's standard Far Cry fare. It goes a bit silly, but it doesn't really stick onto any particular political theme, from all reports.
But for Nurian, you can't shoot conservatives trying to sell you guns in it right on sight.
I know.
It expects you to, treat them as humans.
Game is not about Trump. 6 out of 10. I'm not kidding. That's what Polygon said. Almost. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but yeah, they gave a 6 out of 10 because the game was not a political commentary on Trump's America.
There's basically they've been completely sublimated into this bizarre idea that everything in the world has to serve their personal agenda.
No,
It's basically they have ascended to become embodiments of left-wing narcissism.
Yeah,
so
this is not just them either. It's anybody that has a major opinion about entertainment in general.
yeah. So I never thought I'd actually say this, but hats off to Ubi for not going political on it, and for actually making a good game.
You could call that self-preservation.
You could.
No one has ever done a heavily political game and not been lambasted for it.
Yeah.
And sales on those, what we will affectionately call the hyper-lefty games, are not very good.
News, because they're usually
'Cause
rubbish.
They're not fun. They're preachy.
And even then, the
as
people
soon as
that
you,
yeah.
as soon as you subordinate the game to the message, it ceases to be a game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Nobody
and
wants to play it.
regardless of the quality or merits of the product itself, too, the group of people that are complaining about another group of people are not interested in your product. They're interested in complaining about the other group of people they don't like.
Yeah.
They're not going to buy your product that supports them. They're going to say, okay, cool, and move on. The people complaining have no interest in Vegeta.
They won't even say, okay, cool. They'll stick their nose up in the air and say, nah, good enough.
Or trading card games. Pick your medium where they've infected it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Business owners, don't listen to them. You'll lose money.
Yeah. So, good on you, Ubisoft. I might actually play your game at some point.
Your beef with EA has... My beef with Ubisoft is quickly developing into the same thing due to broken experiences in their games. Where you don't like the DLC and general treatment that EA has for its customers.
The general contempt.
Yeah. Unfinished products and broken products are that for me. So Ubisoft is the company in my crosshairs when it comes to stuff. And I'm very wary of buying any of their stuff, even if it is a finished product for once.
I will be continuously wary about Ubisoft, but I also like to give credit where credit is due, and if they do something right, actually reward them for it.
Yeah. I did not... I was ready to beat them with a hammer. I had the aluminum baseball bat ready to go on the show, and I didn't have a reason to pull it out.
Yeah.
My personal wild speculation is that this game was going to be political. They were going to look at Wolfenstein and try not to get left out. But when they saw what happened to Wolfenstein...
That was bad.
that not that the game was bad. I don't know whether or not the game was bad. The fact is that nobody wanted to play it.
Yeah,
because it preaches to you the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't play a game in a genre about shooting people to be preached at. Like, there are platforms for that. Keep it out of our interactive entertainment plus.
Blocks.
But yeah, well, this actually, I've got to. Oh, go ahead.
I think that's the case. The case is that the second Wolfenstein game with the reboots provided the test case to show what happens if you do message fiction these days, and it does not get swallowed by anybody.
Yeah, it completely baffles me that a business owner with the bottom line in mind would even consider the current narratives being pushed as an option to side with, knowing full well if you just do a quick Google search on the sales figures for the ones that have even bothered to release their sales figures, because the only reason you don't release them is if it was bad, is this is a bad idea in every entertainment medium, from comics to TV to... Well, TV gets away with it a bit more. From comics to video games.
Well, I mean, if you look at... Well, the thing is that this isn't... To the people that like this message fiction, this isn't about sales, and it isn't about profit. It is about the culture war. Like, if you look at Hollywood, Hollywood has devolved into producing two things: message fiction and superhero movies. And case 2.5 superhero movies with message fiction in them. And the only things that make money are superhero movies. Message fiction bombs at the box office every single time without exception, because once you subordinate the story to the message, it ceases to be a story. So you end up basically bombing over and over again. And they know this, but they will dump millions upon millions upon millions of dollars into this because they think that manifestly is winning the culture war, and they're surrounding themselves by people who approve of it. So when you go ahead and you make some game like Wolfenstein, where you are basically preaching constantly at your audience about how great communism is and so on and so forth, the reason you make that is because not because you think that you can convince anybody of that, or because you want to pander to a particular audience, but because you actually have gotten to the point where you literally believe everybody agrees with you.
Yeah. The entire left coast of the USA is effectively full of ideological zealots that are completely baffled anybody could ever disagree with them, in my experience. At least in the big cities. You get out of the metro areas and people become more diverse in their opinions. Because the only diversity that matters is diversity of thought.
Yes.
Fight me.
We have
I mean, if you said something like that at Google, they'd fire you. We know that now.
Yeah.
It's so funny, keeping it on video games. This is a slight tangent, but I got my turbo controller back from being repaired, and it has a PS3 mode and a PS4 mode. You can use it on both. Neat. So I needed to play a game that could test it on the PS3, and so I needed a bog standard game that just to push all the buttons. And I happened to have BioShock Infinite installed from PS Plus back in months and months and months ago, maybe years at this point. It's just sitting on the hard drive, so I booted that up, and I'm running through the game. And I'm just laughing at how bad they are at trying to make the opposite side of the side they're clearly trying to demonize look, because the historical inaccuracies are so bad, and they're so bad at presenting the world that's supposed to be evil as bad, that they wind up just shooting themselves in the foot. And what's even funnier is their biggest crux is more racism, but it's set in 1918, and the race relations are at the point where they were in the U.S. in 1940. They're 30 years ahead of the curve. Yes, they're still bad, but they're ahead of the curve on that flying city.
Yeah, from my playthrough of BioShock Infinite, the real bad guy is Booker DeWitt. He just shows up and starts shooting people.
Yeah, the real bad guy is, there is no bad guy. There's a bad situation, and Booker's an idiot.
Yeah.
Well, protagonists almost always are. They don't really have much of a choice.
It's kind of ingrained.
I've actually considered going through the entire game again just to see how bad they shoot themselves in the foot. Because going through the game my first time, I was trying to absorb the narrative more than what they're trying to preach now. But now that we've hit this day and age where you got to preach to everybody, it's easy to notice this crap. And it's so funny in Infinite because they just shoot themselves in the foot every single time they try to get preachy. If you think about it for more than 2 seconds and realize how poorly historically accurate the message they're trying to portray is, it's just terrible. You're like, wow, this is the most pro-conservative Bioshock of all time, when they were clearly going for the opposite.
And that was also back then. That was before they had gotten to the point where they were going to stop hiding it. Like, at that point, they were just starting to come out of their shell and go loud with political views inside video games. Like, it hadn't gotten to the point where the culture war is now, because this was many, many, many years ago now. Like, the idea that Bioshock Infinite is many, many years old is bothersome to me.
I feel old.
But it is. It's quite old now. And they hadn't gotten to the sort of the livid, hysterical culture war that we're currently enduring. And they still managed to completely balls it up and make it blatantly obvious. Now, when you then replace that with a culture where people aren't trying to hide it and in fact think that they've already won, and also simultaneously think that their rebels are on the back foot, I don't know how they square that circle, but that's the way it is. Pardon me. But when you get to that point, you're just going to start seeing bigger and bigger gaffes, and we'll get to the point where we've got, like, you know, like the Oscars, for instance, right? Nobody watched the Oscars because they basically because they gave awards to, you know,
how liberal you are.
Not. I think that liberal's not even a strong enough word. Like, they gave awards to that movie, which is about pederasty and how great it is. Like,
you're gonna have to define that for me.
It's like, you know, man-boy relations.
Oh yeah, I'm glad I didn't know that word. Can you undefine that for me?
You wish you unlearn that word.
It's lodged in your brain for eternity. But
you can watch that South Park episode about it, I suppose.
No, I don't want anything to do with that. It sounds terrible and gross.
But yeah, so that's the sort of thing that they think is, you know, praiseworthy now, and are entirely on board with promoting it via their medium. And, you know, the culture has responded to this by not wanting a bar of it, which didn't stop them giving an Oscar to it. Nobody went and watched that movie because everybody thought the premise itself was foul.
Yeah. Any award show in any entertainment medium is laughable. The video game one is still new and young, but
and terrible.
The more they,
the thing is,
it's already terrible.
There's something moral about payola compared to what they do at the Oscars, though.
Yeah,
like payola's honest.
They're
just profiteering in an entirely conventional way.
Instead of the Golden Globes, where Oprah stands up and spouts about the modern day witch hunt over and over and over and over.
Yeah, for those of you living in the fantasy land that is big city America, come out to the edge of the metro area sometime and talk to people.
Incidentally, I think I might actually need to drag my my brother to Darwin. He's lived in Melbourne for too long. So I need to take him to the other extreme and get him in contact with his inner bogan.
Yeah, if you do stay in the city too long, it does. If you stay in the city too long, this is the only opinion you'll hear.
Well, I've heard it called being bubble dumb. It's not to do with your actual intelligence. It's because you've never heard an alternate opinion because you live in a bubble.
Yeah, and this happens to a lot of people. It completely baffles them that there are different opinions. But, you know, if you go sit in the city for a few, everybody out of hand, and you can only do that for so long before, you know, the human desire to be with people instead of be locked in a closet kicks in. You know, you have to.
I have not encountered this
ways
yet.
to think about things.
I'd rather stay locked in a closet.
But yeah, I have a good perspective sitting on the edge between the two. I get to see both whenever I want.
Well, keep in mind, when you talk about being locked in a closet, the current generation thinks that the best literature ever written was Harry Potter, so getting locked in a closet is probably fashionable at the moment.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Why?
That was a passable children's book series. Like Animorphs. It is on the same tier as Animorphs to me.
Animorphs is scary.
Animorphs is horrifying.
Animorphs is a very serious, mature book series, actually, but written with childish language so that kids can read it.
Yeah.
There ain't too many people die in it for my tastes.
And not nice ways either.
The Fly episode. That whole deal. That is not for children.
Yeah, Cassie and the Ant Hill, the entirety of the end of the Hork-Bajir Chronicles and the graphic deaths everywhere. And what that virus actually does.
Things getting disemboweled all over the place. Yeah, that's it really should not have been for kids.
Yeah, Harry Potter's at the tier Animorphs should have been. Yeah. If it was not an adult series disguised as a kid series.
It's a light, fun read. But don't dig too deep into it.
But it's the greatest thing ever. It seems, if you're like a 40-year-old wife, you love it. If you grew up with it, it's the greatest thing ever. Like, these are the two demographics I see that love this, and they will flock to it. But it never stuck with me, thankfully, so I didn't have to become part of that crowd. Right. It was a one-and-done thing.
All right, let me see. The only other real bit of news this week has been people peeing on Sea of Thieves, but we haven't played it, so it's hard to comment on it.
I don't intend to play it either. Like,
I don't.
From what I've heard of coming out of it, everything that I claimed about it turned out to be true. It turned out to be a game that is shallow, contains no substance, depends entirely on multiplayer to do all its heavy lifting, and the fact is that emergent gameplay based on players is all about douchebags being douchebags to other douchebags.
Yeah, pretty much.
And people being mad about the fact that pirates are, that indulge in piracy.
Pirates are doing pirate things. Oh noes. So saw this game at E3 as a case of, okay, you've got pirates, you've got naval combat and all that. Great, that's a solid foundation. What else? And it's like they just said, what do you mean, what else? That's it.
That's that disease, like I keep talking about, that people think that multiplayer will do its heavy lifting. You just include arbitrary multiplayer, then that for some reason means you don't need to do any game design.
Yeah.
And if you play in as many video games as we do, I've gotten in the mindset that, like, if it's an emergent gameplay multiplayer experience only game, the only way I'm even going to look at that game is if people I really enjoy playing games with are talking about it nonstop and ask me to specifically get the video game. Like, I haven't even looked at Sea of Thieves stuff because it's just emergent world gameplay with none of my friends interested in it. Not happening.
Here's the problem. A game designed to be emergent is not, in its very essence. And it ends up just being a hollow, empty mess.
It's not, it's an oxymoron.
Yes, it is.
Like, you can't design something to be undesigned. That's very, very silly.
Yeah, you cannot give us a themed sandbox to play in with our friends and then not include some toys to play with. It's not going to work.
Yeah, it's like
Minecraft did that. It owns the market on that. There's a game for that.
Yeah.
I thought the Penny Arcade comic was very accurate though as well.
You're playing a game about pirates and you're being surprised when people are being terrible.
Yeah, it's like, it's called Sea of Thieves. You've got the sea, it's right there, and you've got the thieves, and they're acting like thieves.
Yeah. Where's the problem?
Yeah, it seems to be doing exactly what it says on the box, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it's this game. It's got the potential to be great. Like, it looks good. It's very pretty, and the sailing mechanics seem fun. Like having your ship change size depending on how many players are in it sounds great. But it's like building a house. They built the foundation and then they just stopped. So you've got a concrete slab. It's plain and it's blank and it's empty. Yay. Anyway, what else?
That's really it. I did a look in the middle of the week, saw nothing, and looked right before the show and saw nothing I even wanted to talk about.
There is nothing.
Let alone significant news.
All right, so shall we start to wrap up then?
I suppose so. Email topic of the week. April Fool's sucks. Why does it suck?
Yep. If you actually found something that was funny, send it to us, because we'd actually like to see this, because it's something that theoretically does not exist.
No, we'll probably have a few to talk about next week that are fairly interesting, but most of them are just going to be terrible and mislead you and not allow you to get any information you need.
Like Blizzard's typical terrible patch notes.
Yeah. But at least that's obvious. They're not trying to deceive you.
I don't know whether those are worse when they're trying to be accurate looking or when they're trying not to.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that that's clearly not intended to deceive only bugs me if I'm trying to look at version histories. And, like, the guys that are formatting it decide that these fake patch notes need to go in the same database as the original ones in the slot where they came out, which, for a while, the WoW Wiki did. That drove me up the wall with it.
That was annoying.
They did fix that. eventually.
Yeah. I just
Yeah.
unlocked a huge amount of stuff for this game. Like, a lot of stuff. Wow.
As long as you're not trying to be actively deceptive, I'll be okay with whatever you're doing for April Fools, but don't be a jerk.
Yeah. Alright.
Closing comments go.
Closing comments go. More Monster Hunter is probably going to happen during the week. We're actually starting to get people into our squad now, kind of. So,
people in the squad, the same 3 people that have been playing it all the time just happen to be online at the same time for once.
Yeah, 4 people now.
Oh, that's right. Sleep joined.
Yeah.
Sleep's been the other consistent player I sometimes, occasionally, once in a blue moon play with.
I guess he's been around about the same point in the game as Vaul and I have. He was doing the Elder Dragons yesterday, I think he said.
Yeah, all 3 of the people that I knew that stuck with the game were all stuck in the exact same point for like 2 weeks. You guys were, it seemed like you were stuck at the last 3 Elder Dragons before the final boss forever.
It's just, well, we weren't stuck, we were just progressing at a slower pace.
I know. It's just, it seemed like y'all were in the same spot forever. I'm like, okay, because when y'all got there, I'm like, okay, y'all are almost there. We can do tempered quests. They're still there. They're still there. And I don't want to rush y'all through the game or anything, because y'all can have fun playing the game however you want. It's mostly a single-player game, but I'm like, I want y'all to finish.
Have work schedules that serve our own purposes. Like, we have to make do with the work that's provided to us.
Oh dear. But yeah.
Oh no. Alright, let's get out of here, shall we?
Yep. We will see y'all next week, hopefully with at least some April Fool's jokes to talk about, and hopefully some news.
Hopefully.
We will see you then. Sayonara, bye-bye.